Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So this video is so long overdue. So as you may remember, I started off with my unboxing video of my lovely rise garden here. And after that I did a follow-up video that I said was going to be a two-part video. And I did part one, got it all edited in the can and sent off. Meanwhile, in between that time, I fell ill, had a few issues, and had to go in for surgery. Oh my gosh. So that was not fun. So that kind of took me back a little bit, but I still had the second part footage, and I was getting questions in the meantime, and said that I would answer those questions and finish up that part two. I'm about 2 weeks or so late, and you know, life happens. I'm sure everybody kind of gets that. So I do want to apologize though for taking so long. I am on the mend, sitting down comfortably, not overexerting myself per doctor's orders. So anyway, so I just wanted to shoot this quick intro to kind of lead into that part two of my follow-up video. I had questions about seeds and starting seeds in the nursery. Also, people asked about the nutrients. For instance, why Rise uses 3 different nutrients versus just one. So I talk a little bit about that. I give a brief crash course of the app, but nowhere near the depth that the app goes into. So I talk a little bit about the seeds and how you can actually enter in seeds that aren't in the catalog. I also touch a little bit more on the water. Somebody asked me about how to fill this guy, and a little bit on cleaning, nothing major. That will come in a future video. But oh, I also had another viewer question who had asked me about so when you have the seed pods in the net cup, you've got multiple seedlings in there and you want to be able to separate them instead of having to discard them. So someone asked me how we go about gently separating them into 2 different pods or however many pods, and I actually walk you guys through that with my kale here. Also, if you check out my Instagram page at the Mocha Foodie Gardener, you'll also see how I did like a little step-by-step. It's not a video, but it's just pictures, just kind of giving you a basic idea of how I did that with my tomato plants, and they are like huge now. I'm so sorry for this light. It's just like really amazing and just powerful. So I try to counterbalance it, but you know, hey. Anywho, so I go into that as well. And so I hope this video will be very helpful to you guys. One point before we get into the video, I want to point out that if you have not gotten a Rise garden, or if you have gotten one and you want to get another level, you want to get a personal garden, I've got a link that I'm going to post right down here that you can use to get $50 off of any of your future purchases. So go ahead and take advantage of that, and you can follow along with me for my next video where I talk about my personal Rise garden. So I just got that. Again, follow me on Instagram at the Mocha Foodie Gardener. And if you haven't already done so, go ahead and hit subscribe on this video so you can be a part of the family. Hit that notification bell so you can know when I make future videos. With all that said, let's go ahead and check out part 2 of my Rise Garden update, and I'll check you guys out on the other side. One cool thing about the app that I want to show you, because I'm going to actually start some seeds, and I'm going to show you how to start your seeds. I'll show you how to add them to the nursery, and then you'll see eventually in my next video when it's time to add them to your garden, you'll transition them to your gardens. Okay, so now that I have my garden all nice and started, I'm going to show you guys how to set up a new garden in the nursery. And like I said, I'll walk you through that on the app. And then in my next video, my next update video, I'll show you how to move these guys from the nursery to the garden in your app as well. So I'm starting off with chamomile, toy pak choi, and I'm so excited about this salad bush cucumber. I have no idea why I didn't plant this sooner. But yeah, so it is what it is. But anyway, one thing I want to point out to you guys is the difference in seeds. So the Toy Choy Pak Choy is just a green, but you see the chamomile, that's going to be a flower. So while it tells you how many days it is to harvest and to sprout, this one is going to show you that you're also going to need bloom. Is that blossom? You're also going to need blossom. So remember, the nutrients that come with your garden, it's going to be thrive and sprout, or sprout and thrive. That's the order that you use them in. But for flowers, you're going to want to make sure that you get blossom nutrient as well. All right, so what I suggest that you do is when you're ordering your garden and or seeds, I go ahead and order everything you need to go with it, like primarily your nutrients, because, you know, with the way that things are right now, they do send via snail mail, and the mail has just been crazy. One thing that I'm so excited about that I totally forgot about initially was the amount of seeds that come in one little package. You get 4 pods. So I really only plan on planting 1, but that is just so cool. Yeah, I forgot, like when I set up my previous garden, I'm sure I still have additional seeds. So you really do get a lot for what you're ordering. One thing I really like about it is that you see this foil here. So the beauty of that is that when you can do anything, like when you're taking them out or maneuvering them, the seeds don't fall out. So you're not gonna get pods with empty pods with no seeds. So that's really great, that I love a lot. So you literally just poke a little teeny hole. You can do that with your finger easily, and then you can see the seeds on top. So remember, it gives you this cool little thing that helps you separate everything. And again, you put your little pod in there, push it on down, and then you just let it sit in the water. So again, my chamomile, I'm like so over the moon about chamomile. I've been wanting to grow chamomile for some time. I've just never done it. I don't know why I haven't done it, but when I saw it in the Rise catalog, I just was like, you know what, let me just go ahead and do it. So that's just so great. And I don't think it really matters where you put them, to be honest. And again, I'm super excited about my cucumber. Get that guy in. Again, put the pod in, or the sponge, the growing medium in the pod. Now, so what I'm going to do with my other seeds, I'm going to use these guys. But this is really great because, again, they give you all the amount of pods that you're going to need, and you can always grow extra things. So that's another cost-effective thing too that somebody had asked about, the cost differences and for what you get. I really do think that you get a lot for what you're paying for. So go ahead and push this guy in there. Oops, I guess that's okay. Yeah, I pushed it on. It felt like it went in further, but it's actually fine. I'm probably push this guy in a little bit more. There you go. And it's perfect for these Rise pods. I'm so excited about that. Now, get my hands nice and dry. So in addition to that, I'm going to grow my own echinacea and my own fennel. Oh my God, it already smells like fennel. That's awesome. Probably put like about 3 or 4 in there, down in there. And remember, you don't want to fill this up too far because you don't want to drown your seeds, but also you don't want to not give them enough water as well either. So, you know, this little sponge is going to do a nice little wicking motion. It'll wick up the water. I'm going to get those down in there. There's one sitting here on top. Get that in. And then we're just going to go ahead and close it. And I'll show you how to add these on your app. So we've got our nursery all set. So I've got all my seeds started in the nursery. So you'll start out by picking, and this is actually helpful because I did not label my other seeds that weren't labeled. That's the only downfall when you are doing your own seeds. You got to keep track of which ones you're growing. So this is actually very helpful to get that going. So I'm going to start off with the first one. I've got my Toy Choy. There we go. And it starts showing up. The minute you just start typing in, you give it a tap, tap, and it pops up in your nursery. Now what you're going to do when there's something that is not in the catalog, you're going to scroll all the way over here to custom. Click on custom crop, and then you're going to type in, let's see, you're going to say create custom crop. Now basically you're going to try to pick something that's similar, and in my mind this is, the echinacea is going to be very similar to the chamomile, so it is a flower. So I'm going to go ahead and click on chamomile, name it, because I don't know how to spell, I need to. There we go. Echinacea. Create custom crop. And there you have it. There you go. So you click it and then it puts it in there. Now, again, it's going to show you the picture of chamomile because that's what they have in their library. But we know by tapping on it that it's echinacea. Okay? So then we're going to go to the actual chamomile, because we are actually growing chamomile. You click on flowers, chamomile. Oh, now which kind of chamomile? It's German chamomile. Didn't know there was a difference. Again, learning process all the way around, which is great. Just a keynote regarding your custom crops. Don't worry if it's not the exact type of plant or flower or what have you that you're trying to grow. It's just basically giving you an approximate timeline, because you're going to look at your own plants and see how they're growing and how they're doing, because sometimes the app may say, oh, it's further along, and you're looking and like, no, it's not that far along, or vice versa. The app really is a guide to help you understand better. It's to take the guesswork out of a lot of this gardening, and to kind of it gives you a ballpark, let's say. Sometimes it's spot on, other times it's kind of like, oh, this is a little off. So there you go. So for instance, I would just show you briefly, now my bronze arrow, let's look at the bronze arrow. Fetching info. So it's about at mid-growth. And so this is a case where, yeah, it's correct. So it's telling you it's definitely mid-growth from what we saw, and it's saying I can start harvesting it in about a day. I probably could have already started harvesting it before. I'll go back to the beginning of where it shows you that there's a cool thing about this, just this app, that is just very educational, very helpful. I can't say that whether or not you're going to get this type of detail with similar units. I just don't know. I've never seen anything like this. So they really have a team of plant scientists that are on their team that are just really, really good and very helpful with their education and tips and so forth. And they really, you can see that they put 110% into this app alone, you know, aside from the seeds that they choose and the unit. I am over the moon and just very, very impressed with their job. So it shows you that it's a little greens category, how many days to harvest, the care timeline from the nursery to initial growth. Again, we're in mid-growth, harvest, when to remove it. Oh, nice. It tells you the amount of vitamins and minerals. It gives you recipes. Good Lord, guys. This is just really, really cool. So you can, I love how they do it before the initial growth stage. So you're like sitting there kind of salivating as you're planting your seeds. Like, oh my God, what am I going to grow? So yeah, so it tells you about how to thin out, when to thin them out. That's really awesome. And harvesting. I always have a question, or I'm always torn about, gosh, how do I harvest lettuce? I think those are one of the hardest ones for me. I'm like, do you do the haircut method? Do you do it from the side? And it looks like you just kind of cut this one from the base, which is cool. And it tells you when to remove it. As you can see, and this on the left picture, it's starting to go to seed. It's getting flowers. So it has lived its best life, and it's ready to go out to pasture, and you can put something else in there. It takes you right to their support system, the website. You can type in anything. What is EC, for instance? That's one thing that I had to look up that I wasn't very clear on. And it gives you troubleshooting. It gives you understanding EC and pH. Tells you about the nutrients. Oh, this is one thing, one one question that I was asked about why the nutrients come in different units. And it basically explains all to you here that apparently it is more cost effective. It lowers the carbon footprint. I do not claim to be knowledgeable about sustainable gardening, although I love that concept. But I do believe, and from what I understand, hydroponics is a lot more sustainable, which I think is awesome. But they say that by having 3 different containers, it helps that. Okay, guys, I just wanted to make a quick statement about the nutrients, because I did have a question about a woman who was looking to do a comparison of the Aero Garden Farm XL versus the Rise Garden. And you'll see in my previous video where I talk a lot about why I think the Rise is much better, and this is obviously a continuation of that. But one thing regarding nutrients, if you look at these guys, this is what I've used in my previous hydroponic setups. Just the long and the short of it is that using 3 different ones that are for micro grow, flora grow, flora bloom, all that good stuff. You'll see down here that it has the different readings of the NPK, and that's the nitrogen, potassium, and phosphorus, or nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium. But anyway, so when you have the 3 different ones, you're able to balance out your nutrients based on what you need and not just one blanket nutrient dose. So if you have the one that's where it's all pre-mixed, you're just going to continue to get the same baseline amount. And, you know, full disclosure, that's not going to hurt your garden. It's not a bad thing. But when you're working with Rise Garden and you're using the app is this is a smart technology. So it's able to tell you, again, as we mentioned before, the amount of EC that you have, the dissolved nutrients that's happening in your garden. So for instance, at this time and stage of my garden, say for instance, I believe it should be about 180. It's reading about 197. Don't quote me on that, the amount that it should be, but I remember seeing that somewhere else. And probably at this point, it's probably should be 200. But just to give an example, say it should be 200, but it's reading at 160. Your app will tell you specifically how much Thrive and how much Sprout to use, right? And then as well, Blossom once that comes, because as you can see, I've got little tomato flowers and somewhere in there blossoms coming in. So that's going to help with that. So if you're gonna buy peppers and tomatoes and different plants like cucumbers or what have you that you know are going to sprout, or that you know are going to have blooms or flowers, blossoms, or what have you, make sure that when you order that you're ordering the blossom as well. Because with the way that the mail is running these days, everything is just super behind it. It's just taking, they're living up to their name of snail mail. I'll just say that. And so I was able to send an email to tech support because I was a little concerned about the fact that my tomatoes had already started flowering, and it's been about a week and a half, and I just the other day added the nutrients of the Thrive and the Sprout to my unit, and I didn't have bloom at the time or blossom at the time. So they say that you have about a week or so that you can get away without having the blossom. But the plant scientist via the tech support sent me an email mentioning that if I had something that had the word bloom or blossom in it, that I could use about 15 to 30 ml of it. Now, please take that with a grain of salt for where you may be. I would still talk to them because this is where I am with my garden, and that was their suggestion for me of the amount of the size. I've got a 2 level here, and what I've got growing. And so if you do run into that situation, you're going to want to do what's best for your garden. But I just wanted to point that out, that if you did have something like that, that you can use it as a substitute, but I would suggest getting guidance first. So yeah, again, I just cannot emphasize enough that make sure that you order all of your nutrients and everything right away. And also keep in mind that that Rise Out has a new subscription program. So we won't be hitting this situation where you're running out of things and like, oh my gosh, it'll come. I believe that you can stop it at any time. You can subscribe to have it come every month or what have you. Don't quote me on those time frames. It just came up, so I'll probably try to put the website up here just to kind of give you an idea of what it is saying. But so yeah, so the subscription program is going to be very helpful. Again, but just to kind of go into why it is important to have 3 different solutions, just like Thrive will have 3 different solutions for your garden. It's very targeted and it's very helpful because you're going to be able to give your garden exactly what it needs at that particular time and space based on what the EC is, based on what all the readings are. Again, it's a smart technology, so the app is going to be able to tell you, based on your numbers, this is how much sprout, thrive, and blossom you're going to need. If you just have one nutrient base with everything in it, and you're putting it in there, it's just going to kind of go across the board. It's not going to say, oh, well, you don't have enough nitrogen, like for here. This is probably that situation. I had this in a cracky jar, as you know, and I transplanted it. Because it wasn't getting the nutrients that it needed. So it's not going to be able to pinpoint, oh, let me give her a little bit extra, this one a bit more nitrogen, let me give this one a little bit more, what have you. So that's one big thing that I just wanted to add and point out. If you're going to try to do something else, I would err on the side of caution, because if you really don't know what you're doing, you can damage your garden. So stick with the Rise nutrients, because again, the app is calibrated for these, for what is needed, and it's going to know how much to tell you to do of what. Again, there's no blanket answer for how much to do of any of these unless you know what's going on in your garden. So just a little key tip that I wanted to throw in there for you guys. Another question was, how do you fill this big thing? Basically, this is it. It comes with a little pitcher like this, and they give you cute little stickers. I put a sticker on it, and it allows you can fill it up as needed, primarily in between additions of nutrients or just when it's low. Yeah, as you can see, they're getting pretty big and growing pretty unruly, so it's definitely going to be asking for a lot more water, as it's going to be taking more water. I also suggest that you water from the bottom and not the upper racks, because it could cause a little leaking or what have you, just because it's a lot of water gushing down. So, and it's easier to reach too when it's lower. There you go. So as you can imagine, the initial fill is gonna be a little time consuming, but yeah, and that's a good amount right there. That's a good amount right there, and you'll see the water light is showing me that it's looking pretty good. So cool beans. That's how you fill it. Very simple. I wanted to point out is when I first recorded the video, I didn't have this, and this is little pipe cleaners. Somebody on the Facebook group suggested this and said that it was a dream, and a ton of people were just like, it was perfect, like a godsend. So as you can see, it's very bendable, and it's got this little brush here for the bigger end, for the bigger hoses. And you see the little brush, big brush, little brush. So it's perfect to fit down in here nicely, beautifully, to clean all that the gunk out. You know, the nutrients over time starts to build up a bit, and you just want to give it a nice deep clean. So this is what it looks like. I put the link in the description of the previous one. I'll do it here as well. But this is what it looks like in person. It's nice and long too, so you're in good shape with this guy. Okay, and as promised, this is the process that you can take to thin out seedlings or not quite mid-growth plants to separate them. Sometimes that happens. I've done this before where I've planted multiple seeds and I thought I thinned it out properly and I didn't. So you'll see this massive root system here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and cut it. Don't panic when you see this. I probably cut a little bit more than I should have, but you know, it just becomes a massive spaghetti anyway. So when it comes to pulling them apart, it becomes a bit more challenging. And they tend to tear off a bit anyway, but I promise you they will grow back. So as you can see, they're stuck together a bit. And they were grown in rock wool, and that's another type of growing medium. So I'm just going to separate them a bit into two separate plants and clean off as much of the rock wool as I can. I love this Rapid Rooter product that I purchased from Amazon. Someone on the Rise Garden Facebook group pointed it out. It's really cheap, $14 for about a bag of 50. You can use these guys. They fit perfectly into the Rise Garden net cups. You can also use your Rise Garden Grow Anything pods. I just found these to be more helpful, and as you can see, it fits beautifully into the Rise Garden net cup, just like this. So you're going to want to put it in there like that. Make sure that the root is hanging out off the side so that they can continue to grow down nice and healthy, and just push it down and fit it there. Again, what I did is I opened up the Rapid Rooter pod mass or sponge or whatever this is called, this growing medium, and then you just go ahead and put the stem right on in there in that opening. Close it on over. Make sure all the roots are hanging where they need to be so that they can grow down properly. Get your net cup. Again, Rise just provides you with such a nice amount of net cups, which is perfect. You can reuse them, and they're great. Sometimes I use a little stick to try to push them down, the roots down, just so that they have nothing impeding their growth. And there you have it. So there you go, two separate pods. Now you just go ahead and transplant them into your Rise Garden unit. Make sure as you're putting them in the garden that the roots are sitting directly into the water and the nutrient solution. That's obviously going to be key. That's its life source. So go ahead and snap those net cups in, push them all the way down, and you're all set. I hope this video was helpful for you guys, and I was able to answer your questions. Again, if you have any other questions about the Rise Garden, please don't hesitate to ask. Just go ahead and put them down in the comment section. I read every single comment, question, or what have you. And again, thank you for all the kind comments and the great questions. It kind of gets my brain going sometimes too. So I'm very happy to be able to create this content for people and help you guys out. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram at the Mocha Foodie Gardener, and go ahead and subscribe to this channel if you enjoy this content and if you find it helpful, and hit that notification bell so that you can be made aware of any of my future videos. The next video that I plan on working on will be my unboxing of my personal Rise Garden, and if you hit that notification bell, you'll know when that video comes up. So here's wishing you guys great eats and happy gardening, and always, always, always be kind to one another. See you guys later.